Hello folks, me again with another overview video. This time for the Batman, the Long Halloween. For this one I am showing you the Photoshop file, the way I cut the images. I will show you the spine file and the After Effects composition. It was a very simple cut. I didn't cut anything more in detail, just big blocks of images. The animation is not that complex. You will see on the rig, I cut only the essential parts. Like the head is one object, then I separate the eyes. I always separate the eyes. The body, of course, the tail, the whiskers, because I wanted to create a small movement there. And then I have the pumpkin with the main layer. And then I cut the perspective of the pumpkin because I want to create like an extra layer of parallax. And finally the inside that I didn't like too much because of this yellow shade, but this is the original. So this is it for the Photoshop. So in Spine I have the rig, as I told you, very simple. Basic setup. This controls the set for the eyes. This controls the upper part of the mouth, a little bit of the perspective layer. For this one, same thing. The lower part of the jaw, the perspective layer, a little bit. And I created this one that controls more the offset of the perspective. And of course I have this part that is animated. It's not automatic, it's all by hand because of the overlaps. And here is the 3D. Everything follows. It's a mix of these constraints mixed with the weights of the mesh. So I have this control affecting directly the mesh, and I have the bones constrained to this control as well. So it's a mix. Usually I like to work with a mix because it gives me more refined control. But let's remember, this is a video project, it's not a game project, so I have this freedom of deforming the vertex directly if I want to. If I need to, as I did, you will see I did this with the cat. Especially this part that is split between the tail and the body, because when the pumpkin is squashing and stretching, it gets like behind the tail, so I have to animate these vertices. And since it is for video, I can animate directly the vertex. For the pumpkin is basically just that, the 3D control that does everything. I have a main control here that I use to the main squash and stretch, combined with the rotations and these main parts animated. And then I have the cat, just the spine of the cat. It's a one giant chain. I block the rotation for the neck and as well for the head. And the same thing I did with the pumpkin. The head has a mix of the 3D controller and the mesh weights. So I have controls here, the eye separated, and I have the brows here. I create this way because I want to want like rotation, not only position transformers, but position and rotation combined for the eyes. And for the ears, I have this set. So if I want to animate the whole ear, like a scale or something like that, can, even for position, I can move the whole ear. But for the ear is like a standard rig, nothing with constraints or something special. It's simple. I like to keep things simple so I can focus on the animation and not on the billion of controllers. So the whiskers that I want to animate, most of the movement is driven by the 3D controller, so it's quite simple. As I told you, it's a combination of constraints and mesh weights. Maybe it's interesting to show you how I use mesh faces, because I like to keep the main structure of the face like if I am like under the bone influence, like the bones of the skull. So the main structures that I use to create this inside edges, it's for to keep the skull structure that lies underneath the fur and the skin. So I have this for the brows, the eyelids, and this big block for the nose, because the nose of the cat is like projected. So I keep this even in the weight meshing. I have this region like weighted to this bone to keep it like a block of vertex. So in case I need to move it, it's easier. And it keeps the aspect of the something more solid. For the eyes, I just create meshes for the pupils that can be controlled by this. And the way I created this shape of vertex helps to give this impression of like a sphere. It doesn't have much detail showing. It's because the way this will be applied on the video, that it will be applied over the cover of the comic book, and the comic book is over a table and there is a lot of camera movement, so a very detailed rig is not necessary. The rig is focused on in what I need to show, that is a more cartoony movement, a lot of squash and stretch, and some acting from the cat. Here I have the animation. This is one of the animations I use sound. You can create a sound event, as you know, and it's synced with the laughs of the sound. And I decided to do that in Spine 4. I'm not using Spine 4 for work right now because our pipeline doesn't support it. But for my personal work, I start using it because this separated curves really helps. Especially for bouncing movements and squash and stretch, it really helps. It saves you a lot of keying. You can create like overlaps using this like extrapolation of the curve. If you are used to animate in 3D or other software that supports like curves to control movement, this is a heaven. So there's not much about the animation, mostly the pumpkin reacting to the laughing. So I want to do it more funny. Even the comic book is not that funny. It's not a light story. It's very heavy. But for the cover, I want to give this light mood with some humor, with using the laughs of the Joker. So this is pretty much it for the spine process. Then I exported the sequence, the whole sequence, and then imported in After Effects, and I will show you there. So for the After Effects part, this is the full shot. I have the video here. It is like that. Same workflow I did for the previous project, the Superman project. You can check on the YouTube or my Instagram. So it was a comic book, but I pasted this green with some marks to help on the tracking. Then I used this is the key light to remove the green, of course. So I created this extra comic covers. Applied a shadow here for integration. But this is just planes, like pre-comps. And by the way, I don't work like that with this layout because the timeline is too short. It's just for you to see better the full composition. And after the tracking, it's just positioning the elements and work on the composition of the cover. That is this one. So here I have the elements all separated. I have some animation happening this time with the titles and the signature of the artist. and the render, of course. I want to create like a transition from a flat color background, and then elements start taking place. Because I have a problem, because the original cover is like in frame 1. This is the space it took on the cover, but when I animate that, I have this movement for the cat, so it won't fit the cover in the proportions that the cover used to have, like a A4 sheet. So I have to adapt. So I animated the full composition of the characters to be a little bit on the left, so when it is animated it can behave better. See, I have a little bit of cut here, but this is supposed to happen because, as I did with Superman, when I move the camera, the intention here is to have some parallax between the elements. So it's supposed to have some cuts on the edges, but I want it to frame it better for the most of the time. So in the end, when the animation gets into place, then it is more like the original cover, more centered. This is the moment that the cover is more in frame with the shot. So I have to create these animations, and I thought this combined with the lettering, the titles, it works very nice. So this is pretty much it. Same workflow as the Superman, but different camera movements. And I hope it helps you to understand how it was done. And that's it. Remember to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram, where I used to post most of my animation stuff. And I'm trying to do that more on YouTube to create more content, to teach people, to help people to understand how this Spine After Effects works. And I hope to see you there. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.